What up, potty people, and welcome back to Clipped. As always, I'm Eric, your host, and Clip brings you podcast production tips, resources, industry insights, and podcast education for my potty pals, all aimed to help you become a better, more efficient podcaster. And I'm on a mission to help you start, grow, and monetize your show. I'm going to be sharing with you in this episode a tip from my friend Jay Yao, who's the producer of the James Altucher Show, about using classical music to play in the background while you edit. We all know there's some benefits of classical music, or if you didn't know, there are, and I'm going to get into a few of those, and then kind of talk about how I've been using this tip from him and how it's helped me get in the zone and be more efficient with my editing and kind of make it more enjoyable too. So let's set the stage. Picture this. You're sitting down to edit your next episode. You've got your coffee, your water, maybe your editing notes, but you're looking at an endless timeline of audio tracks and you're like, shit, this is going to take forever, and I'm going to be sitting here and it's going to be kind of fun for like the first hour, and then I'm really going to be grinding it out. Here's a trick that I learned from my buddy Jay on how to kind of get more in the zone, and that's playing classical music in the background while you edit. You're not going to do this like within your session, like drop in classical music tracks. No, honestly, I just use Spotify for it. The reason why classical is that studies have shown, especially like pieces with like a steady rhythmic pace, can improve concentration and mental endurance. And I used to study to classical music sometimes in college. That was years ago, but it's kind of a similar concept. It does something to your brain, and I'm not going to look up all like the scientific evidence on it, but I know there's tons of studies, and it just kind of helps you get in a flow. There's no lyrics or anything like that, and that cognitive function in your brain, it just kind of gets you going. And so I challenge you in your next episode, play some classical music in the background. I find that more like strings and really light classical music works wonders for me. Sometimes like the big orchestra hits, boom, boom, and like the strings are going crazy, and that's too much. Sometimes I feel like that interferes. So find what works for you. Type in classical on Spotify. There's all types of like genres in classical. So find what works for you. And the key here is like to play it at a really low level. You'll find there's a lot of dynamic range in classical music. It can go up or it can go down. Like crescendos, decrescendos, volume lifts. So find like a level that works for you where it's just barely in the background. You're just hearing it. At times, I think the point is like, you don't even want to notice it sometimes because you're just in the zone editing. And then like a few minutes later, maybe it rises up a little. You're like, oh yeah, that's been there this whole time. And I've been focused and it's helped me with my process. Finding the right pacing and volume is key. If it's like distracting, it's either too loud or maybe it's not the right genre of classical. So keep that in mind. And if it's a show you're working on with like a lot of sound design and a show that has like its own music built into it, it's probably going to clash. So I don't recommend using it in that sense. But man, I'm reading here as part of my script, these complex patterns that stimulate your brain's processing centers, but it doesn't demand attention the way like lyrical music does. So if you're looking for a little bit of a hack, try this. I think if you implement it, you may love it. And if you don't, hey, fuck off. Don't do it. Don't really fuck off. That's just how I talk. Funny enough, I've actually got classical music playing right now on my headphones. It's very chill. It's almost like if you guys have ever been in a Nordstrom's where there's like the piano player, I feel like this track that's playing is that kind of vibe. But that's it, guys. You're listening to Clipped. Head on over to the website, the Podcast Haven. That's the main channel or the main brand that this show falls under. I've got tons of resources on the website, blogs, additional podcasts. I talk about gear, monetization strategies, guesting, interview tips. It's all on the blog, and the podcast past episodes are all there as well. So we'd love for you to check that out if you're looking for additional resources on starting a podcast, growing a podcast, or monetizing a podcast. So keep listening, keep engaging, keep creating. I'm out.